G'day guys, so today we're having a look at the Paladin changes for Shadowlands in 9.0. Please do keep in mind that this is beta, so some things are subject to change. However, Blizzard seems to have slowed down a bit in terms of major class overhauls. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So first up, we're going to have a look at some generic class changes that will affect all specs. The main thing we should talk about is Holy Power. It is now used for all specs instead of just Ret. And auras are back, so there are 4 auras. We have Devotion Aura, which will give your party and raid members 3% damage reduction. There is Crusader Aura, which is a change from the old passive we had, which was Heart of the Crusader, and it will increase the mount speed of all party and raid members by 20%. We have Consecration Aura, which will make all interrupt and silence effects on the party and raid members 30% less effective. And lastly, Retribution Aura, that will grant you Avenging Wrath for 12 seconds whenever a party or raid member dies. As always, you may only have 1 aura active at a time. We have Avenging Wrath, which is no longer on the GCD. Blessing of Sacrifice is now available to all specs. So is Consecration, however for Ret and Holy it now has got a 9-second cooldown. Hammer of Wrath is also now baseline for all specs, and it can be used on any target during Avenging Wrath. Shield of the Righteous is also available for all specs, but will no longer work with its old 3 charge system. Now it's simply a 1-second cooldown, but it will cost 3 Holy Power. And we have some new spells, so Sense and Undead will allow you to track Undead on your minimap. Turn Evil will cause Undead, Aberration, or Demon target to flee for up to 40 seconds. This is limited to 1 target as always, damage will break this. And Word of Glory is now baseline for all specs. It will cost 3 Holy Power and it will heal your target. Let's look at talents now. So Divine Purpose is now available to all specs. Fist of Justice will no longer work off Judgment, instead it will reduce the reigning cooldown of Hodge by 2 seconds for each Holy Power spent. Holy Avenger is now available to all specs and it's off the GCD. Seraphim is also available to all specs. It will no longer consume Shield of the Righteous charges, instead it will cost 3 Holy Power. And lastly, Avenging Crusader as well as Crusade are both off of the GCD. And that's it for the generic changes to the class. Let's look at Holy. So first up, let's talk about Aura Mastery. Obviously now that we have 4 auras as baseline, the talent rows for the auras have been removed, and Aura Mastery has some new effects, so it will empower your selected aura for 8 seconds as before. But for Devotion Aura, it will increase the damage reduction to 15%. For Crusader Aura, it will increase mount speed to 60%. For Retribution Aura, it will increase Avenging Wrath duration by 50%. And for Concentration Aura, it will make all allies immune to interrupts and silences. Next we have Beacon of Light. Now casting Flash of Light or Holy Light on your beacon target will grant you 1 Holy Power instead of refunding 25% of the mana cost. Also, your heals will heal the target of your beacon for 50% up from the old 40%. Infusion of Light passive will no longer make your crits reduce the cast time of Holy Light. Instead, they will reduce the cost of your next Flash of Light and increase the healing of your next Holy Light. And Light of Dawn will no longer cost mana, instead it will cost 3 Holy Power. Let's look at talents now. So Awakening has had Word of Glory added to the list of spells that have a proc chance to proc Avenging Wrath. Beacon of Virtue has had the same changes as Beacon of Light, so obviously the Flash of Light and Holy Light will grant 1 Holy Power instead of refunding 20 mana, as well as the Beacon of Light targets will get healed for 50% up from 40%. Bestow Faith will now generate 1 Holy Power. Crusader's Might will no longer reduce the cooldown of Light of Dawn, and as we mentioned before, we have our aura talents removed. So Devotion Aura, Aura of Sacrifice, and Aura of Mercenary are all removed, which opens the door for some new talents. First is Glimmer of Light. This will make Holy Shock leave a glimmer of light on the target for 30 seconds. When you Holy Shock, all targets with Glimmer of Light are either damaged for enemies or healed for allies, and you may have 8 Glimmer of Lights out at one time. And we have Saved by the Light. This will make it when your beacon target is damaged below 30% of their health, they will gain an Absorb Shield. This can only occur on any player once per minute though. And that's it for changes to Holy. Let's have a look at Protection. So first off, let's look at Consecration. Its cooldown is reduced by 50%, but that's only because the baseline spell has been put up to 9 seconds, so effectively it's exactly the same as BFA. Hammer of the Righteous is now on a 6-second cooldown instead of 4.5 seconds. Word of Glory for protection will heal for up to 300% when you cast on yourself, dependent on your missing health. And Shining Light will make every 5 Shield of the Righteous grant you a free Word of Glory. Looking at talents now, so Blessed Hammer is also now on a 6-second cooldown and will calculate the reduction in damage the target deals to you based upon your attack power instead of being a flat percentage. First Avenger has been reworked. Now Avenger's Shield will hit 2 additional targets and grant you an Absorb Shield equal to 100% of the damage dealt. Redoubt has also been reworked, so now Shield of the Righteous will increase your strength and stamina by 2% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. Righteous Protector has also been reworked, so now each holy power spent will reduce the remaining cooldown of Avenging Wrath and Guardian of the Ancient Kings by 1 second. And Hand of the Protector has been reworked, so now Word of Glory's healing is increased by the target's missing health on any target, not just yourself. And a few talents have been removed, so Bastion of Light, Retribution Aura, Ages of Light, and Last Defender are all gone, and we have a couple of new talents. So Moment of Glory will reset the cooldown of Avenger's Shield and make your next 3 Avenger's Shield have no cooldown and deal 20% more damage. This is an instant cast and has a 1.5 minute cooldown. And we have Sanctified Wrath. This will make Avenging Wrath last 25% longer and cause Judgment to generate 1 additional holy power. And that's it for protection changes, guys. Let's have a look at Retribution. So first up is Art of War. It will now have a flat 12% chance to proc off auto attacks instead of being capped per minute. Blade of Justice is now on a 12-second cooldown, up from 11. Divine Storm is now capped to 5 enemies. And Wake of Ashes is now a baseline spell. However, it will deal reduced damage to a secondary target, and it will only generate 3 holy power, down from 5. Blessing of Kings and Blessing of Wisdom have also been removed. Let's look at talents now. So Execution Sentence has been reworked. Now a hammer will fall from the sky after 8 seconds. It will deal holy damage plus 20% of all damage from your abilities in the last 8 seconds. And a whole bunch of talents have been removed here as well. So Consecration, Inquisition, Hammer of Wrath, Divine Judgment, and Word of Glory are all removed as talents, which means some new ones here too. So Empyrean Power will grant Crusader Strike a 15% chance to make your next Divine Storm free and deal 25% more damage. Final Reckoning will deal holy damage to all targets in a targeted area and cause them to take 50% increased damage from all holy power abilities for 8 seconds. While it's off cooldown though, it does have a passive, so your attacks will have a high chance to cool down a bolt of holy damage that will cause the target to take 10% increased damage from your next holy power ability. Really interesting. Healing Hands is the next new talent we will look at, so this will reduce the cooldown of Lay of Hands by up to 60% based upon the target's missing health, as well as make Word of Glory heal up to 100% based upon the target's missing health. And lastly, Sanctified Wrath will make Avenging Wrath last 25% longer, as well as during Avenger's Wrath, each holy power spent will cause you to explode for holy damage to all nearby enemies. And that's all for the class changes. Let's have a look at some PvP changes now. So Aura of Reckoning for all specs is no longer on the GCD. For Holy, Darkest Before the Dawn can now occur while Light of Dawn is on cooldown, and Divine Vision has had its range increased to 70 yards from the old 40. For Retribution, Vengeance Aura has had its range changed from 40 yards down to 20 yards, but no longer will only work off allies with greater blessings since they have been removed. Hammer of Reckoning has been removed and a new talent, Aura of Reckoning, has replaced it. This will make it so that when any of your allies within 40 yards are crit, you will gain 1 stack of Reckoning. At 50 stacks of Reckoning, your next weapon swing will deal 250% increased damage and it will be a critical strike. It will also activate Avenging Wrath for 6 seconds. And that's it for PvP changes. Let's jump into Covenants. So as everyone knows, there are 4 Covenants, and depending on which one you choose, you'll gain 2 new abilities. One is a Covenant-wide ability and one is a class-wide ability. The first Covenant we will look at is Kyrian. So for Kyrian, the Covenant-wide ability is Summon Steward. This will call forth a Steward that will give you a Phial of Serenity, which is a potion that will restore 20% of your health, as well as remove all curses, diseases, poisons, and bleed effects. You can also talk to your Steward to change talents without a tome, and gain access to a vendor to sell items. And the class-wide ability is Divine Toll. This is on a 1 minute cooldown, and will instantly cast a spell on 5 nearby enemies dependent on your spec. For protection, it will cast Avenger's Shield. For retribution, it will cast Judgment. And for holy, it will cast Holy Shock. A lot of fun to play with. Let's look at Night Fae. So the Covenant-wide ability is Soul Shape. This will turn you into a Vulpin, teleporting you forward 15 yards and increasing your movement speed by 50% for 12 seconds, or indefinitely if you're in a rested zone. While you are a Vulpin, you can reactivate this ability every 4 seconds to blink forward another 15 yards. And the class-wide ability is Blessing of Seasons. This is an interesting one. So it's on a 45-second cooldown, and when you use this ability, you will grant the target a season buff for 30 seconds. There are 4 seasons obviously, summer, autumn, winter, spring, and it will rotate between these seasons each time you use this ability. So, Blessing of Springs will increase the healing of the target by 10% and increase the healing they receive by 20%, and change the next blessing to Summer. Blessing of Summer will cause their attacks to have a 40% chance to deal an additional 30% damage as holy damage, and change the next blessing to Autumn. Blessing of Autumn will cause their cooldowns to recover 30% faster, and change the next blessing to Winter. And Blessing of Winter will attack with bonus frost damage and reduce the enemy's movement speed by 3% and their attack speed by 2%, stacking up to 10 times, and change the next blessing to Spring. A lot there, but I hope that makes sense. Let's look at Venthyr now. So the Covenant-wide ability is Door of Shadows. This is a teleport that will make you appear at your target location and is on a 1-minute cooldown. And the class-wide ability is Ashen Hallow. This is on a 4-minute cooldown, and you place it on the ground for 30 seconds. You will heal all allies within it and deal damage to all enemies within it. The effectiveness is reduced on more than 5 targets though. And while you're within the hallowed area, you can use Hammer of Wrath on any target and its damage is increased by 100%. And last is Necrolord. The Covenant-wide ability is Fleshcraft. This is a 4-second cast that will grant you an Absorb Shield equal to 20% of your health. This is increased to 50% if you are casting it near a corpse. And the class-wide ability is Vanquish's Hammer. This is a 30-second cooldown that will throw a hammer at your target and empower an ability dependent on your spec. For protection, Word of Glory will automatically trigger Shield of the Righteous. For Holy, Word of Glory will automatically trigger Light of Dawn. And for Retribution, Templar's Verdict will automatically trigger Divine Storm. And that's pretty much it for the chains we could find. If you'd like to download any of the class recalls we used in this video, we'll provide a link down below. You can check me out on Twitch for more Shadowlands content. I'll put a link down there as well. Thanks heaps for watching. See you later.